Right, it's time to look at the champion hurdles. This is the last time on the Value Raters Class Act that we're going to take a look at the champion hurdle, because pretty much every horse that was in contention has now run. The last one of those was Irvine, albeit an outsider, may well not go to Cheltenham now, and it would be said that it was one of your selections a few weeks ago as a value, not as a win. It was look, it's value at 50 to 1. Yeah. That's changed, but let's take a look at the graph and explain to our viewers at home exactly why that's changed. Yeah. Obviously, explain why.
Okay, now this is the result Irvine ran in at the weekend, and it was. When I put Irvine up, it was for various reasons. We'll come along. I will come to that as we go along. But Irvine going into the race was, for me beforehand, had to win this race and win this well. Now, we got the winner of it is Blue Heron, has won the race for Dan Skelton. It had 11 stone 7. Now, it had official mark of 150. I think that horse is a lot better than that. I've got it 164. Irvine, who's 11 to 10 favourite, had the 11 stone 11. Now, Blue Heron beat it 6 lengths, official mark of 157. I've now brought Irvine down, and when we were talking about Irvine, I had him up to 170. I've now gone back over the form of the fight in fifth, and I'll explain the reasons for that shortly. But now I've got him 162. Hintermint's in third. Interested in Hintermint because he's ran behind all the big boys. He's ran behind the new one, Faugheen, and now Irvine.
He deserves to win a race.
It was 9 lengths back. So he's really the benchmark for this form. Now, I've always had Hintermint as 145. So given the distances of 145, that's how I come out with the 164 of Blue Heron. Irvine 162. And Sign of Victory was way back.
Let me ask you, because the people at home will want to know this, and I hope you can answer this.
Yeah.
Right, you said about Hintermint. That's the one you use your baseline for.
Sure.
Hintermint has been behind some of the classy individuals that are in the champion. How far behind did Hintermint finish behind Faugheen and some of the others?
Yeah, 17. He was 17 lengths. He comes out 17 lengths behind Faugheen. Now, that was on their running at Ascot, admittedly over 2 mile, 3.5 furlongs. But he ran a similar race. I know it's a different distance, and he comes out through there. Blue Heron himself would come out £9 behind Purple Base. So if you take, and also Hintermint ran behind the new one for a 2.5 length beaten behind that horse. If you take a strict line, you start saying, well, actually, the fact that Irvine had beaten Hintermint 9 lengths and was in receipt of £8 isn't a bad performance when you look what Hintermint did to the new one on its first start this season at Kempton, and I accept that. My point with this form is that when we seen Faugheen running over the 2 mile, 3.5 furlongs at Ascot, remembering, I think he's come on a ton between Ascot and Kempton. So that's where I think...
Probably come on a ton more for the champion hurdle, but we'll come on to that in a minute.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. But this form, let's just talk about this race, the Kingwall hurdle. I was there on Saturday. First time I seen Irvine really up close. He looked to me $1 million before the race. He didn't look to me a horse that had much more to come. I'm sure a little bit was worked on, but he looked ready to go on the day. He was very disappointing. Blue Heron went off and set a similar pace to what Blue Heron did at Kempton when Irvine was pulled up, where Faugheen was in that race. And for me, once Nick Schofield got a little bit lower, he got there very easily to Blue Heron, and then very cleverly, I think, Harry Skelton, who would obviously...
Did that pay any... was there any consequence to that changed the result?
Absolutely not.
And the distance?
Absolutely not, because Irvine, to me, I mean, it was very clever, Harry Skelton. He must have been watching Nick Schofield ride all afternoon, because Nick always came over to the stand side, and I think it was probably a very clever tactic of Dan Skelton getting their heads together and say, look, go for the rail, because that's where Nick's going to go. And, of course, they got in a bit of argy-bargy. All that is jockeyship, and they came down to 2 out, and then he's up sides. He's had every opportunity to go by. He looked laboured in the closing stages. And also with Irvine now, he didn't jump to me like a champion herd. We didn't make mistakes, but I'm just not sure about him. And also, from seeing him up close in the pre-parade ring, I'm not sure that he does want better ground anymore. I just think he might need some cut in the ground, and I think the ground could be against him. When we talk, and the ratings come up later, I mean, I did put him up And listen, if you have backed him at 50 to 1, don't throw your tickets away, because stranger things have happened of perhaps he could run into a place. But, you know, I'm here to give an opinion. I have backed Irvine myself. Would I tell anyone to back him? No. And I think the 50 to 1 now is terrible value. Yeah. And I think he should probably, on balance of form, probably should be 100 to 1 now.
Yeah, but not only that, I mean, obviously it's all a matter of opinions, and if you take that performance away and you take the last performance away, it was bang in there. It's just the last time behind Faugheen, disappointing there. So however you cook over it, 2 disappointing runs do indicate that it's...
I mean, I think it's important to explain that...
Yeah, explain why you came to that conclusion originally.
Well, originally how I come to that conclusion was the run of which was Grade 1 company. So Irvine is a Grade 1 winner. He beat John Quinn's filly a length and a quarter, and there was 4 lengths back to Arctic Fire. Now, Arctic Fire, this is what was seducing me, if you like, to make the case for him, because you can argue that Arctic Fire improved, but at the same time, sometimes I think that's overplayed. And when I looked at Arctic Fire's run style behind Irvine, and I looked at his performance behind the likes of Hurricane Fly, I thought, well, there's nothing to disbelieve that he hasn't run his race. So it would then put in Irvine, strictly speaking, in front of the likes of Hurricane Fly. So, of course, at the time, the 50 to 1 seemed very attractive.
And to be fair, the second horse has won a couple of races since. This is November form, so things change. And Arctic Fire has gone on to finish, what, three lengths behind Hurricane Fly and Jesky on 2 occasions.
I've now come to a firm conclusion, is that Arctic Fire actually has improved from the fighting fifth, and probably improved in the region of £8 between those 2 runs. John Quinn's mare, I was saying she could be, you know, competition for any power. I'm now thinking this form is very suspect. If you look through the John Quinn's form, even at Sandown in behind, the form's worked out terrible, and I think there's a big, big cloud over this form. I know it was a Grade 1 race, but I think it was, you know, with Grade 2 animals.
OK, right. We're going to take a look now. We're going to have the graph up for the Champion Hurdle. And we see now the ratings. We'll leave them up for some time. People at home will be looking at that and thinking, right, OK. And I've got to say now, this is basically it, isn't it, Matt?
For me.
Nothing's going to change our views on it. We're 3 weeks to the day before Cheltenham. Go us through the ratings. Let's start with Faugheen.
Yeah, Faugheen, 5 to 4 favourite. Best price for this race, and he stands out a mile from a rating point of view. Last season, a Champion Hurdle winner, I had performing to a mark of 177. Just to give you an idea, already I'm suggesting Faugheen has already got £5 above that. This Faugheen, for me now, beginning of the season there was a lot of talk, and now I think there's overwhelming evidence to suggest that this horse improved massively from his first start in this country at Ascot on Grade 2 when beating Blue Fashion with the Hint of Mint was in that race. I think he improved massively, and there's so much evidence now pointing that after the weekend, because Faugheen, you know, if you look, Purple Bay, you know, he's beaten Irvine like that. Faugheen beat Purple Bay 8 lengths, with a further 9 lengths back to Blue Heron. That's how far clear he is of that form at Saturday, you know, Faugheen. Now, that brings me on to Purple Bay. This is my my selection now for the Champion Hurdle, Purple Bay. I've got the best second in for his performance. Now, Purple Bay himself beat Blue Heron 9
people
lengths.
At home, what day was this? So people can refer to this. It was on Boxing Day, right?
Boxing Day, the 26th, the Christmas Hurdle. Now, the Purple Bay, if you look, he's beaten Blue Heron 9 lengths off level weights. Blue Heron, look what he did to Irvine. You know, that puts him, Blue-Purple...
And Blue Heron hasn't improved that much in 6 weeks.
He hasn't, and if you look, he led at a strong strong pace, and everything was the same. And the difference was that this race, for me, Blue Heron is clearly not going to be going to the... he's not going to the Champion Hurdle. He's now going to go to Aintree for the 2 mile 5 race. Yeah. He showed at the closing stage he stayed really well. Now, this Purple Bay, you know, it's a 9 lengths better than Blue Heron, and in turn would put him, what, about £11-12 in front of Irvine, who I've got 162, you know, sorry, £11. So Blue Purple 173 in here. What I like about Purple Bay, is he obviously before that, he ran in the elite hurdle which he actually won. Wincanton. And he came from a mile back. It didn't. That
was when Irvine fell.
Nowhere, exactly. When Irvine fell that day. Now, if you stop the tape at the last, you would say, well, Purple Bay can't possibly win. If you look how far the horse has made up ground from the back of the last of the line, and he's hit the line absolutely full of running. I've got this mark 173. And what I liked about him is Kempton race behind Faugheen. Obviously, Faugheen looked impressive. But this horse, Purple Bay, I've seen it time and time again, that on tracks like Wincanton, all right, it's not quite as sharp as Kempton, but I've so many horses that need a trip. You need to stay 2.5 miles for a champion hurdle. They go fast. I can see this horse finding a vast improvement to perhaps finish a lot closer to
Okay,
Faugheen
let me ask
than
you
8
this.
lengths.
Let me ask you this. Why do you put that horse ahead of the new one? A lot of people will be watching this live or on YouTube and go, right, why are you going Purple Bay over the new one? You must be mad.
Yeah, well, the new one we've seen recently, Grade 2 level, admittedly on heavy ground. I mean, the horse was all season has shown a tendency to jump out of the right, which isn't ideal going left-handed. I've still got a problem slightly with his jumping, but that apart, we have not seen the new one last year when I had him in performance to 174 in champion hurdle. His highest mark this year is 168 for me. Bertamont, he beat last time. And of course, Bertamont was in the race with Purple Bay in the elite hurdle. If you look through all that form, it puts New One a little bit short of Purple Bay. It's there to be seen. People can argue and say, well, it was heavy ground. Maybe it would be so. But before that, in Grade 2 level at Ascot, the New One beat Van Tur. I think Van Tur was an overhyped horse at the beginning of the season. I see him no better than 155 horse. I think that proves if you look for a Gardler Victor in the Greatwood, you've got a Loffy in third. You know, that's his best run.
Definitely not proved anything.
That's his best run, 168 for me there. And of course, when you really look at it, I mean, the New One on his first start this season beat Hintermint 2.25 lengths in receipt of £8. So he comes out on that run, £10. And I just think the New One is a horse in between distances. He is desperate value for me in this champion hurdle, and he's a horse for me that will not be winning. I think the 3-1's ludicrous.
Okay. They've already battled it out, I think, 3 times this season. Jet Ski and Hurricane Fly. We don't get to see them face over the UK contingent too often, or certainly the top notch. Are you of the opinion that Jet Ski will beat Hurricane Fly in March, or are you sticking your gun out and saying, well, Hurricane Fly... I know you don't fancy either for the champion hurdle, but which one comes out on top?
You know...
Pretty much of a muchness.
I think Jet Ski's may well improve for better ground. He's been tackling Hurricane Fly on soft ground, and I think that suits Hurricane Fly a little bit more. I mean, Hurricane Fly, let's not forget, he's 11 years old now. You know, we keep on expecting these horses to run to their mark. I thought he ran bang up to his form last year in the champion hurdle. I just think he was meeting horses that are better than him.
Probably sentimental, but I just think if Hurricane Fly was to win the champion hurdle, I think it would be one of, if not the greatest moment, I'm going to put it at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Just the base of the fact that the horse is 11-year-old and, you know, was last year down the field. It would bring back memories for me of Dawn Run, which is the last time I got really excited about watching a great performance at Cheltenham. Not that it's not exciting, but one of those magical moments. Has Hurricane Fly got any chance?
No, I don't think he has. I've always had a problem with him slightly over here at Cheltenham. I think on better ground, you know, we've seen an example of it last year, that extra pace they go. It's all very well on soft ground at 2 miles when you can grind it out a little bit more. When they're going those kind of fractions, I think he's just going to get too far behind. I've got him running this season to 168. Listen, I'm not in any way, he's won in grade ones. He's done it this season now 3 times, but admittedly beating the same horses up. But I can see him running respectable. I can see him finishing 4th or 5th.
Okay, another horse. And Jet Ski?
Jet Ski, I can see, it's a similar case as last year. You just couldn't back the horse on this year's...
Exactly what happened last year.
...form, exactly. But it's for a horse that's priced up at 6-1, that is just too high risk for me, to assume that you're going to come back to last year's form when beating My Tent or Yours. If he does come back to that form, he still, for me, he's got about £6 a fine with Faugheen, and that's, I must stress, I think this Faugheen could well be, the next kind of old-time great that everyone sits up and goes, wow, because if my figures are right, and I'm the first one to try and attack a short price horse and try and when everyone's hyping at the beginning of the season, I'm someone that needs an awful lot of evidence and a lot of trials to go through before I'm convinced. And I am now convinced that if that Faugheen can produce it at Cheltenham like he has done previously at Kempton, there'd be no other winner. They won't get absolutely near him.
Okay.
But with Faugheen, there is that slight in the back of your mind. I can't get out of my mind that slight mistake at the last. And if he's under, and if that happens in a champion hurdle
Okay,
race,
we're going to have to move on. We did say this. We could talk an hour on this race. Quickly, Arctic Fire, because it's got a couple of lengths to make up. Is it feasible that it could?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I do think the horse has improved from, behind the likes of Irvine. I've now got 164 to win, any chance of winning. No, I wouldn't be surprised. I could see him running into a place. I could see Cheltenham, the stiff kind of 2-mile championship pace. He's done very well on soft ground in smaller fields against Hurricane Fly and Jet Ski.
A bit like Captain Seabee for me.
Yeah, he always finishes well. He finishes.
Yeah, in terms of when it comes to the real thing, will Arctic Fire be there? Look, we're going to move on because Purple Bay is your value selection.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fair to say I certainly fancy Faugheen, and I would say that from what you're saying, Faugheen is streets ahead, but value. That's
Absolutely.
what we're talking about, Purple Bay.
And this selection for me, this isn't just a case of me saying value. This is a horse I've got second best in my ratings. When we're talking at 50 to 1, you can get no run and no bet. It's an absolute must. What I like about Purple Bay is he's in the face of adversity, which he had at Kempton behind Faugheen, he wasn't given a hard time by McCoy, and the track was never going to suit him. And do go and have a look at this on the tape to see what I mean. And I always go on about this. But if you have a look from the last hurdle in that race of Faugheen and Purple Bay and have a look at the distance Faugheen is clear of Purple Bay, pause it, count the lengths, wind it to the line. Now, I appreciate Faugheen's doing it easily, but in no way is he being pulled up by Ruby. Purple Bay is making inroads. He's closer at the line than he was at the last. And in the pull-up area, all of a sudden, he's right on Faugheen's tail there. I can see this horse on a track like Cheltenham, not saying he's going to beat Faugheen. What I'm saying is I can see him being a lot closer, or at least half the distance closer on a track like Cheltenham. I've seen it happen time and time again. And this Purple Bay at 50 to 1 it won't change. And I'm very, where Irvine was, we didn't really have all of the form here. This, for me, really is. It's a knock.
Well, as I say, we're now 3 weeks away, and
Absolutely.
I think else is going to change now.
So
Faugheen, for me, as the winner. Faugheen for you as the winner, but Purple Bay.
I think that we could see an all-time great here. I wouldn't advise anyone to back short, especially at Cheltenham. But for me, Purple Bay each way.
Okay, right. Let's take a look now how you can contact Matt Mitter. He's been inundated with emails, and fire away.
Yeah, just anyone would get involved in the show. So next week we've got the Mayor's Hurdle. So if you've got a particular fancy for the Mayor's Hurdle, send an email to me. You can do that at value.rater@outlook.com. You can Twitter me as well at ValueRater. And I say, or any other question leading up to Cheltenham or about betting and all the best ones. We can't obviously reply. I will reply personally, but the best ones I have. So show me you're working out, because we do like that.
Yeah, and it was particularly good that we may have had a winner for a big handicap race at...
If you think there's a handicap plot and you think you've got a well-handicapped horse, email me and we can have a look and go for it.
Because it's also worth stating, we're running out of time, but you do the work for them to a degree. If they give you the horse, you're going to have a look at it and see if they're talking sense.
And, thank you again to the email, because that is that is a real good find he has there in the David Pipe horse.
You can tell how excited he is. He's as excited as if Purple Bay wins the Chairman early. He'd be even more excited. Matt, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks.
It's been good. And next week, as Matt said, we're going to be focusing on the OLBG Mayor's Hurdle, and we'll have representatives from OLBG on the phone as well to talk us through it. It's quite open this year. Anyway, that's it, and we're back on Saturday with Bet Racing Nation. See you then.